Hey, Gloucester Township. I'm Joe Allen. This is Keith Gibbons, and this is the GT Observer podcast.
That intro's a lot shorter than the last one.
It is. We had a full minute on the last one. We just got like 30 seconds on this one.
I like the countdown, though. It lets you know.
I needed that.
Yeah.
I needed that way. That way, when the cameras come, we're just sitting there like deer.
Oh, whoops.
Happy Cinco de Mayo.
Oh, yeah.
May 5th. So it's we are recapping the April 28th council meeting. So not
There wasn't a whole lot that in that meeting. There was some good stuff we'll talk about, but they've all become a little bit lackluster, you know.
Well, there's no back and forth. There's no real discussion. It's just kind of like we could get the same outcome pretty much if we all just sat at home and let them do their thing.
Yeah.
And then we just talked about all the stuff that they...
That's how they want it, so...
Yeah, that's exactly...
It's working as designed.
So, yeah, it shows... It shows later on, a gentleman showed up to talk about how bad it was. I think he doesn't even live here. So that's how... That's how much of a... That's the direction we've gone in here. Sorry, I'm just stalling so that I can get my actual notes up here.
So, yeah, all right, well, we started off the meeting going into a closed session where they were discussing something about litigation, I guess. So it was an ongoing thing that's going to continue, is what I believe they said when they came out of it. After that, we went into the public portion that would be for agenda items only, and there were no comments about the agenda. After that, they just started...
I think it's like 2 in a row, I think.
Yeah, pretty much. But then they started passing some ordinances. One that we had discussed previously was around block party applications. And there's a few others. We'll play the block party one and I guess run through the list of the others later on here too.
Yeah.
Let's start with that.
A permit is needed in order to have a block party. It indicates the application fee of $20, that a petition has to be assigned by 75% of the residents who reside in the affected area. The approval or disapproval of the application goes through the chief of police department, the chief of police, his department. There has to be a validity of the permit, cleanup of the block parties afterwards, and that there shall not be any obstacles blocking streets to be movable.
Sounds pretty reasonable to me.
Yeah.
I mean, it's...
What?
I don't know. How often do people have block parties? I feel like if you have block parties like once every like 2 weeks, some people might say, all right, we got to control this. But
yeah.
I haven't seen a block party in forever.
Oh, there has to be a reason that they're doing it. We don't know exactly what that is.
Yeah, I mean, I've seen some... like Mr. Jarvis Road, that's not exactly a block party, right?
Yeah.
That's just a massive. That guy just can really party. But yeah, everywhere else I haven't seen. I did see, I think, one time campaigning in like 2021, there was a block party in Deer or something.
They must exist. They won't.
Rain
but
Tree.
It is funny that you need to get 75% of the approval of residents within the area, but yet. Like, they just do the master plan and change zoning. Like, they do that master plan change where you can rezone someone's property and no one had any input from the public whatsoever, but yet you can't have a block party without their involvement.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, that's true.
Know,
yeah, there are a lot of restrictions. There's a lot more. There's a ton of restrictions on us, but there's really...
they're just unfettered, power, basically, to just do whatever they want.
Yeah, the next couple things we didn't really clip, like Village Green Lane, Farmfield Lane. They got some parking restrictions. Some stop signs went up at Sherbrook Boulevard, Eaton Place, and one-ways went in
street,
at Somerdale Road and Somerdale Road Westerly. Is a one-way street, and then
there was a change to pawn shops, right? There's something to do with pawn shops. Let's play that.
Yeah.
Let's see.
So what brought this on was some updates to programs that we use to work with our pawn and secondhand dealers needed some updates. The system that we were using, I guess since probably since 2014 or whatnot, when we have had changes in technology and the amount of scanning and reporting requirements for the police department. So this was actually brought on by the request of we're an improved program that we're working with the business owners. Basically, it makes them gives us authority to have them when they take a pawned or secondhand item, make sure that we get proper identification, make sure that we identify it and keep track of it so that if it is stolen property, we're able to pick up on that. It's also updating some of the fees that were involved that needed to be, quite frankly, updated from several years, which will offset the costs to the township, to the taxpayers, so that the fees involved with the updated ordinance will offset any cost for the operation of the system for the township.
Yeah, what do you think that costs to operate? What are they? What's he saying?
What's that?
Well, he said that the increased fees are going to help offset the cost that it costs to operate this system. Which, I mean, that could be true. If they raised $5, that offsets the costs, technically. But
Yeah.
what does it cost? I wonder.
Yeah, is there more fees for pawn shops to operate this? Yeah, it's a kind of a. I mean, it's a.
It sounds like that basically when you pawn something, though, it goes into a system that they're able to see what it is. So, say somebody's house got broken into, and they said, "Oh, my jewelry, and I had a a necklace that was made of pearls," and they're like, "Oh, we got a pearl necklace in here that." You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I think that's what they're
happened to my family.
Really?
Somebody stole a lot of my mom's jewelry, like engagement ring, a bunch of like my little baby rings and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And then sold them to the place over there in Winslow.
Okay.
And there's supposed to be like a 30-day hold on everything that's in there. They didn't.
Right.
So yeah, it's good to have those things in place now, so we can punish everyone involved.
Yeah. But all right, so then after that was passed, it moved on to the consent agenda, and there was what was this one here? First watch for replacement transfer of retail consumption was initiated.
Yeah, there was.
That was removed.
It was removed from the consent agenda. I don't know why.
Yeah.
It just was a. So I'm not sure what that was about. Didn't follow up. I meant to follow up and look and see into that, but I did not. eGov. There was really nothing eGov going on this time.
I thought there was one or two, but they weren't worthy of noting.
There were two. Yeah, there were two, but one was already answered, I think, by the time the meeting started. And the second one was kind of like a person's kind of personal issue. It didn't really pertain to anybody, and
Gotcha.
nobody else in town would really care about it.
Gotcha.
So,
all right. So then we just moved on to the public portion, which is for any comments about any topics. And Denise Coyne.
back with a familiar topic from last.
Yeah, she's been bringing this up now for a few weeks or a few months probably at this point. Not really getting any answers. These guys are masters at saying nothing, responding back, not answering your question, and just
people have questioned this is about Primo Cruz and Gabby Mosquera's salaries and job roles,
right?
And Gabby's job roles have been in question since before I ever got involved.
Yeah,
people have questioned what exactly is she doing, but.
So let's play her first question here.
I have some ongoing concerns that haven't been resolved. I'm going to read because I have 5 minutes. 1, apparent misrepresentation of salary allocations. Council President Orlando Ricardo stated that employee Primo Cruz's salary is funded 28% from the mayor's office, 39% from the law department, and 33% from the sewer utility. However, the 2024 personal budget reflects allocations only to the mayor's office of $70,000 and the law department of $100,000, with no sewer utility allocation listed. No documentation verifying the stated allocations has been provided. 2, potential misuse of dedicated sewer funds. The sewer utility is a dedicated fund governed by NJSA 40A:4-62 and NJAC 5:30-5.7. Gabriella Mascara is paid $120,000 from the sewer utility budget. Emails indicate that Ms. Mascara is actively sending administrative communications related to the mayor's office suggesting a role beyond sewer operations. No documentation has been provided to show her work is exclusively related to sewer functions.
Ms. Coyne made a statement that there was a misrepresentation of Mr. Cruz's salary. Ms. Coyne had sent me an email, and I responded to the email, and the salary breakdown was provided by our Director of Human Resources. So I was providing the information that was provided by our Director of Human Resources that has a breakdown of Mr. Cruz's salary. In regards to a dedicated misuse of funds, again, that is something that is through our human resources and also the business administrator. I can't really comment on or give you an answer about this of any misuse of funds. In regards to Ms. Mascara, I responded to you as well, Ms. Coyne, via email that you questioned why she is on administrative emails. Ms. Mascara served as the chief of staff since 2010 until 2024 and has institutional knowledge of this township and the inner workings of the mayor's office. So I'm repeating what I sent to you in the email earlier today. And as far as her responsibilities, she's the director of the sewer utility. I'm not responsible and I don't oversee her responsibilities as a director of sewer utility.
Wow.
It's crazy that you can't question someone's responsibilities as being the director of something that you know that they know nothing about. Also, he mentioned that he was responding by saying, I already sent you these answers in an email. Well, she said they're not right. The breakdown's not right.
Right. She didn't say that you didn't answer my email. She said,
yeah,
actually, the email that you're going to now refer to as like the response, you said this, but that's not the case on paper here. So why do the two not match? And his response is basically, I sent you an email, and that's not.
She started off with, this is what I got.
We both have a black Phillies hat on.
I know. When the cameras came on, I was like looking around for another hat, and they're all upstairs, and I was like, I won't change it out now, I guess.
So yeah, but the Primo Cruz and Gabby question, she's asked many different ways and has not gotten a single answer to it. And then it's like, I shouldn't. But it's infuriating that it's our tax money that's paying people, and then like the disdain that they have for questioning things like this.
It's our tax money, and the defenders of our tax money are sitting up there going, whatever they want to do, let them do it. And we're like, hey, how about some representation? How about ask some questions?
Right. Yeah.
No.
I can't. It's not my. That literally is. Yet everything is with your approval. You are actually responsible. I know you like to pass it off and pretend that you're not, but.
Yeah, next part of Denise's questions were about a new position that was opened up, and the salary involved in that.
3, payment of salary above ordinance range without council authorization. Mary Jo Dentino's salary is reportedly $11,000 higher than the maximum amount authorized by the township salary ordinance. No resolution or ordinance authorizing the higher salary has been produced. Although a community development block grant was cited as justification, grant funding does not override the legal requirement that salaries conform to the approved ordinance.
Ms. Dentino, I responded to that is grant funded, that CDBG money is used towards part of her salary.
Didn't say that it wasn't.
In regards to the improper civil service and title, that's something I'm not versed on. Mr. Carla Mayer, that's something that you could speak on. I can't explain civil service titles. I don't have that in my line of work. That's something that's done here in the municipality.
Yeah, I can do some Department of Community Affairs civil service titles.
Okay.
He can, but he won't.
Yeah, so it
Where is
does.
that coming?
Again, she said she's getting paid $11,000 higher than what is allowed by in the township ordinances. Not
then,
where's the money coming
and then
from.
stated it was claimed as that's the justification, but that doesn't override the law.
Yeah, it doesn't matter
And
where the money's coming from.
His
It's
response
higher.
was where it came from. Again, more words that don't answer the actual question, and because you can't call that out right in place.
Imagine if we
There's
could have
no
back and forth
dialogue.
dialogue here, and then somebody would actually get a question. Somebody would ask a question, and then get the resemblance of some kind of an answer.
Yeah,
Not anymore.
unbelievable. Let's see.
4, creation of new divisions and programs without council approval. Township officials
Bless you.
referenced the creation of a Division of Veterans Affairs under the mayor's office. No ordinance formally establishing this division has been identified. Similarly, a new senior citizens outreach initiative was launched without a formal council vote or a specific budget appropriation. Possible improper civil service classification for mayoral appointee. Documentation indicates that Mary Jo Dentino's civil service title is a community service aide job specification code 01314, a non-competitive title. Civil service rules require that an employee's actual duties match the official job description. The official job description describes basic public service support duties performed under supervision, not independent advocacy, program management, or official township representation. Township flyers issued by Mrs. Dentino in her introductory letter identify her as a senior citizen outreach coordinator, advocating for seniors through the mayor's office and promoting a thriving environment for them. These responsibilities appear to be substantially exceeded by the permitted scope for the community service aide. The public hearing for the municipal budget is approaching, and I respectfully request that council address and clarify the issues outlined above before voting on the budget process. The public deserves full transparency, and I respectfully request you conduct an independent review of the township's budget allocations, payroll practices, and use of restricted funds. Verify the compliance with the salary ordinance requirements, civil service regulations, and Faulkner Act government structure rules, and investigate whether any acts of official misconduct, budgetary misappropriation, or improper governmental operations have occurred. And I have a list of potential violations according to New Jersey statutes. If anybody's interested, I'll be happy to send them to you. Thank you.
Thank you. The creation of Division of Veteran Affairs, Mr. Carlmer, is that something, Ms. Coyden indicated that did not come before council, and no resolution was passed for it. Is that something that is commonplace, that if you're creating a Veteran Affairs office, or if you have outreach that's done for senior citizens, is that something that you believe has to go in front of council?
Well, I don't believe there's a director, Tom, am I correct? It's not a director of Veterans Affairs.
There is no director.
So they might be using a title for an individual, but it's not a director, as the statute and the township has a list of directors that meets its maximum number of directors. So I think they might be giving a title Director of Veterans Affairs, but not meaning it as Director of Department of Public Works. And
There's no directors.
My understanding is it's an extension of the mayor's office. So to say director is absolutely not correct. To say division head is also not correct.
Okay.
So it's an extension of the mayor's office. It's a service of the mayor's office.
And Ms. Coyden also added to have the council provide or conduct an independent review. Thank you for your comments on that.
So again, we've got sometimes we just make jobs up for loyal people. We give them
the overall
work.
Answers back there. Like the couple of things I found interesting was when they were talking about directors and like how that kind of constitutes what would need to go in front of council. They also mentioned that it's an extension of the mayor's office, which Okay, that's your excuse, but yet when you look at there's an ordinance around how many dollars can be spent out of the mayor's office, and these are the amount of people. Well, that's at the max. That's how Primo Cruz's salary is diverted over here and over there and everything else, because that was an extension of the mayor's office. And then, now this is an extension of the mayor's. So where is the line? Like, are we just blurring? Like, we just make up rules, like whatever fits.
Yeah, we're pulling salaries from other places now.
Right. Like, oh, well, that came from there. Oh, so that's fine. Oh, this is coming from there. That's fine. It's just willy-nilly. And literally, that's what council is supposed to do, is to watch our tax dollars and say that, hey, the administration can't just go extending any position that they want and creating anything there, and the administration is just there like, oh, I believe it's, there's no directors, and it's, it's extension of the mayor. Yeah. Well, that's what their job is. That's what council's job is. That's why there's a separation of the two, because one needs to approve what this one's doing. But apparently, in this town, we're just, mayor wants it. That's what happens. He gets it.
Yeah. Well, it always seemed to me like they just they're rewarding loyal people with jobs, and not just like when a job opens up, you get it. It just almost seems like we're just creating jobs.
There have been claims of that happening for a long time around here.
Yes.
Where is? Hold on a second. That's why I forgot to put my disclaimer up here too, just to make sure everyone knows that all the things that I say on here are my own opinions and not that of anyone else on the Gloucester Township Board of Education. All right. Sorry, where were we? Okay.
Up next, yeah. So Ira's got a question that it's such a valid question, and it's one that has it's blown our mind like every single year. Well, this happens like every year, right?
Yeah.
Think about it before we push the clip. When you're borrowing money, right? Think about it. You need to buy something, and then you you go out and borrow money for that thing, and then at the end of the year, you got this debt now, and then you're like, well, I've got this extra money now. I got to go spend this on over here. And you're like, wait, didn't you just borrow money earlier? Yeah, so this is exactly what this is.
Well, this is the last time we talked about it. I said, this is my point. It's other people's money. How do you have extra? It was never yours to begin with.
Yeah.
Like, you are taking it from people, and now somehow there's extra. Let's play it here.
Mr. Eckstein, regarding Resolution 24-110 from our last meeting, when money was left over from the previous year's capital budget. Mr. Cars, can you explain that in times where we have capital budget, that's money that is canceled and is moved over? You can explain it better than I can.
In this particular instance, this money would have been equated with the section of the bond ordinances that deal with recreation. So we do have, as we all know, we do have situations where we fund playgrounds and then we subsequently make application at the same time, but it takes a while for Green Acres to approve those applications, and those applications are supplemented not only with large amounts of Green Acres funding, but also Camden County Open Space funding. So that leaves money left over. One example recently was where monies were left over was the batting cages. We put money in the budget for the batting cages, and unfortunately, when all was said and done, we had found a location. We had prepared our specifications. The bids came in extremely high. I think they were close to $1.3 million, $1.4 million. So that was obvious that was something we would not pursue. So that left money in that particular line item, which is in the same category as the ball field lighting. And overall, projects could come in under the estimated bid. So there are many factors that play into.
But again, they were never
why
discussed
there would
in
be
public.
Additional money left over for recreation acquisitions.
Mr. Eckstein, regarding Resolution 24-110 from our last meeting, when money was left over from the previous year's capital budget. Mr. Cars, can you explain that in times where we have capital budget, that money...
I think it doubled it.
I was going to say, that's a really long clip for that short explanation there. So I thought of something, and, when you're doing the mayor stuff and you want something that nobody else is going to want, whatever it may be, kayaking or whatever you want to start up, and somebody like Sam Sweet, who probably can't kayak, is going to come up there and break your stones about it. You put in for something else, like, I don't know, unicorn parking lot. And then that
Right.
that it's like, you're like, hi man, I need $500,000 for this unicorn parking lot, because a unicorn parking lot costs $1 million. So at the end of the year, you're like, oh man, yeah, we couldn't do that.
Well,
but since we have this $500,000 running around here, how to buy some kayaks for us now?
We already borrowed it.
Yeah.
The batting cages one was an interesting one when I was going on, because the low amount of money, I feel like it was like $300,000 or something like that, is around roughly what
three
they
to
had,
500, something like that. Yeah.
If I were to go say I'm going to build a batting cages thing, that wouldn't be even close to what the ballpark number would be. It would be somewhere around $1 million easy to put in for it. But then he also used the descriptive word of extremely expensive when he was calling $1.3 million extremely expensive. But yet the grinder, that's $1.3 million.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
So extremely was just in that application there. But it's funny, like, that's really not extremely expensive.
Tom's not a batting cage fan, I guess.
Yeah.
But it's just an interesting way to think that you could just you know what? When it drives everyone nuts when they say, "Oh, we canceled that debt."
Yeah.
So, and then we have extra money. No, how about we don't borrow that part? That we got extra $500,000. Let's not borrow that part. Or, if it's not borrowed, let's give it back.
No. This is where they're supposed to be looking at these things, and goes into the next part here, where Brian Burns is asking, "Are you guys looking at applications for things that go on?" And what we've seen so far, they haven't looked at people's salaries. They haven't looked at which department they're in. Or they haven't looked at, the capital budget stuff they have. And here, they're not looking
remember
at
years back, Sam would go up there. Remember Paul Krug would try to address individual members of council about certain budget items and say, what is your thoughts on this? And they would freeze up and not know what to say. And that's when the rule was, all questions have to be directed through council president,
right?
Because he's the only one that's
that is how it's supposed to work. Technically, it's supposed to go through who's leading the meeting. But he can defer to them, but never did. But then after they got called out about that, when we start doing podcasts and stuff about that, and it's like, anyone can answer if they'd like to, but they already know. No, we don't like to, because we don't want to hear from you later. We know. Thank you for saying that. But.
We're as surprised as you as what's on this agenda.
Right.
You guys read it Thursday when it came out. We read it when it came in today.
Yeah. Somebody briefed us on it. So, all right. So, Brian Burns is asking about these, I think it was 4 buildings. Well, it's probably in this clip. There was a space that was... what's it called, a Form A application was approved, which is basically saying that a sewer can be installed at this property, which is the first step. We went over this in the past podcast here, but
good evening, council. Brian Burns, Sawwood Drive. I have some documents I'd like to distribute to council and review them with council. Right. So, what you have there, folks, is the application for the recently passed sewer resolution on Hickstown Road. I opened the actual application itself, and it surprised me when I started to dig through it a little bit as to why this was approved in the first place. So the first page is the resolution itself, and you can see what's highlighted there: 4 commercial buildings, each consisting of 10,000 square feet of commercial space. If you go to page 4, you'll see in highlighted, the applicant says 3 buildings with a total of 20,000 square feet. So the application is not matching the resolution. You'll see below that it says office buildings and warehouses. The word warehouse was not included in the resolution.
Mute the mic.
Kind of like, well, why wasn't that? And why
That's all right.
are
It's all
these
right.
building numbers and square footage is different? It doesn't make sense to me. That's a big question. All right, if we move on, you'll see the plans, the
you know
sketches,
who that
concept
is?
plans anyway, for the 4 buildings and the square footages that are there. And it bothers me in the sense that now I don't know how many council people actually saw this application. So my questions regarding this are as follows. Did all council members get a copy of the application and review it? Question number 1. Question 2, if not, why not? Question 3, if so, why would council members agree not to abide by their own master plan reexamination that says that these lots and blocks should have become a redevelopment zone? And why was that not taken in consideration when it's your own master plan?
Legitimate, fair questions, right?
Yeah, they didn't really answer that question. That's why there was no response on there.
What? Didn't answer it?
Yeah, they didn't. They answered him as far as well. There's a clip coming up that they answer kind of in general all of his questions. But the next part of this thing was that he asked was, this is a heritage site.
Yeah, it's like a natural heritage site. I think it was like 300 and something only. In
365 of them or something like that in the state.
Next question was, why would council members agree to allow warehouses on a known natural heritage site? On the back of the handout, it talks about what a natural heritage site is. So there's like 365 sites throughout the state of New Jersey. It talks about their ecological significance and how important they are. So if it comes down to what is best for residents, for warehouses, or protecting a natural heritage site, of which there's only 360 some in the entire state, what do you think residents would say to that? It would be overwhelmingly that site should be preserved. And council had the opportunity at that resolution to shut that resolution down, stop those sewers, and now it has to go to the planning board. You guys had the opportunity to stop it in its tracks. And I have a feeling that most council members didn't even see the application.
Right.
Well, if they did, I mean, that's a feeling he has. I don't know that it's true, but
that they saw the application.
It's probably, I guess I'll say, it's commonplace for you to be told like what has to this is we have to vote on it, but we have to vote yes for this kind of thing here.
Yeah.
Where it's not actually the truth, or potentially could not be the truth. I don't know. It's one of those things where I learned that you need to, when you're told something, you need to question even what you're told. You know what I mean? Like as far as giving an answer, I say, hey, what's this about here? And they say, oh, we're not allowed to do it. Why? Show me what says that we're not allowed to do. You know what I mean? Like why?
Yeah.
What is it that makes us have to vote on this here? You know what I mean?
Well, I mean, really, anytime, if you're a council member and you're told, it'd be best if we said yes to this. Okay, why?
Right.
Is it because it's environmentally good for us, or is it
the
because
best interest
it's
for the residents?
financially good for somebody else?
Yeah.
So,
ding, ding, ding. All right. Well,
so here's kind of a general
responds,
response to both. Yeah.
Mr. Burns had questions regarding Resolution 2502-073 with the Hickstown Road project, or the Form A application. The question is that all members of council receive the application, review it. I can't comment on that. We have 7 council members here. I received this application as a Form A application to see if sewer can be used for that particular site. Mr. Burns, I've answered this on 3 occasions to you. Okay, Mr. Lees, can you explain to everybody what a Form A application is? You're an engineer, you work with our sewer utility, but this particular application is to see if sewer can be at that particular site. Council did not approve 4 10,000 square foot warehouses. Mr. Burns, it was an application to see if sewer can be provided there. Mr. Lees.
For feasibility, not a commitment for storage.
Thank you very much. I can't be any more clear than that, Mr. Burns.
I don't know why.
Well, okay, so just okay. I'm sorry, I cut you off.
Can a sewer be provided there? Well, no, not if it's on a heritage site.
Well, that was what I was going to say. Is feasibility part doesn't just mean that like it physically could be put there.
It can be
there
put
are
anywhere.
other
Yeah.
things that might play into that, like the zoning is actually not for what this is. It's a natural heritage site, so it might not be feasible to put that on there. So that's why it needs to go to a vote for for that. That's what I would interpret that as being.
Yeah.
It wouldn't need to go to a vote if it wasn't allowed to be voted against.
Yeah. So now
And it's a
what,
matter
we're
of
going to go
way
through
to
the
look at it.
whole process of approving everything that can be built there, only to stop it and say, hey, by the way, it's not zoned for any of that stuff that we voted on earlier. That doesn't seem to make any sense to me.
Well, I guess, being as I'm not an engineer for, whatever pay-to-play vendor it is or whatever, but the feasibility, I guess, could easily be something where that doesn't have to play into the decision-making process. Like we learned through the last time that they were putting the warehouses in there, and we're talking about the impact to traffic, and it's like, wow, it doesn't have, and you're like, wait a minute, that doesn't need to be in the thing. Or it's like, another residential things going up, and there's going to be how many new housing units being put up there, and people are like, our schools are getting to the the max limit of where we can be at, and next thing you know, like they tell you, that doesn't factor in. We don't need to factor about schools into that. So feasibility might mean they don't even need to look at that kind of stuff, but in reality, they could look at that kind of stuff. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it seemed to me they could stop this before we even go any further. Because, you could probably put a sewer anywhere you want to put a sewer. But if it's in a site where you generally just can't build on it, then no, that would include putting a sewer in.
Yeah, but see, then, I don't know, again, but it might be that now whoever owns that property has the right to sue you over you denying that because it wasn't part of the things or because it was outside of the scope of what a feasibility study, shows. I don't know. It's all that stuff is... It's not made to protect residents, and it's not just our town here. I mean, that's like a statewide, countrywide, whatever issue. It's everything's made to help out.
I didn't clip it, but Miss Smithman was back again and claimed that she had gotten roughed up by.
Oh yeah.
The police, and
yeah, she was showing she had some.
I guess they put her in. I guess they put her in cuffs. I guess she came to pick up some paperwork, and they put her in cuffs. She says.
Yeah.
Another
Poor
just
woman.
awkward moment there.
Then we had another resident asking some questions here again about. We started off with trees, and this was, I think it was called the Shade Council or something like that he was talking about. But I know that there are towns where it's like, if you cut a tree down, you need to replant another one or something like that. And it was kind of an interesting question.
Yeah.
Let's see.
Good evening, Council. Barry Salvatore, Hickstown Road, Sicklerville. I believe that Gloucester Township does not have a shade tree commission. So what is being done to replenish all these trees that are being cut down where all this developing is being done?
Mr. Salvatore, as far as the tree shade commission, Mr. Carlemare and Mr. Cars, you've been here longer than I have. Have we ever had anything of a tree shade commission in our township?
No, not to my knowledge.
Okay. Has there any been talk of replacement of trees that are I know in certain communities, particularly urban communities, where there are tree shade commissions and also replacement and replenishment of trees?
Not to my knowledge,
Okay.
no.
Yeah, so I guess there's no requirement to replace a tree when you take down a tree.
Well, to his point, he did say it's typically in urban, areas like that. That might be something where, like in city, I don't know, Philadelphia or something like that. I might say, hey, if you're doing, this, you need to put in like a garage under your property.
We're getting pretty
So we have-
close.
Well, okay,
There's
but
not
I'm
many
saying, like,
trees left.
I can understand, like, you can't do one for one. If you're cutting down to, to bulldoze a whole, whatever it is, 30 acres to put up, all this huge housing thing, you can't replace every one of those trees. But, like you said, at some point we're getting close, close to this. If you did have to do that, maybe there's something you can help in, I don't know, another way of helping the community or helping the environment out.
Adopt a deer.
Adopted deer.
That's what you can do.
But all right, so we have another clip. He asked a question about a Shadow counsel.
when we were going over Mr. Cruz's schedule and the excessive amounts of redaction that was done. I mean, it looked like a CIA document from what I saw. Mr. Carlemere stated that he had no knowledge of that, and it must have been a special counsel that did it. What is this special counsel? Who are they to determine it, and who's paying this special counsel?
In regards to Mr. Cruz's redaction on his calendar, you said who was or what is the special counsel? Madam Clerk, I believe that special counsel for that was Mr. Morris.
Yes,
Okay, and he is from Archer Griner.
Parker McKay.
Parker McKay, I apologize, from Parker McKay.
Norcross.
So he said, who
Oh,
pays
yeah.
for that?
Yeah.
That's the township, it's part of, and all of us. So when there's OPA requests or requests for that, there's a cost associated with those things.
So he's trying to throw shade at people that send in OPA requests.
Yeah.
However, they justified his $170,000 salary that he was the one that was going to be, doing this,
Yeah.
so that we don't have to pay another outside vendor.
Yeah.
But yet, when you ask a question about this, they throw shit. It's like, oh well, look, when they come in, you have to pay for these
Yeah.
things here. But you need to cover your behind, I think, is what you're trying to say when you're redacting that much information or figuring out how we can not answer this OPA request and not get away with it.
Yeah.
I don't know.
So the special counsel is a Parker McKay, which is a Norcross company.
Correct.
So when we say that all the money goes to Norcross, in so many ways it does.
All right. So here he has another question here.
Last week, somebody brought up something, and I am not trying to be argumentative with this, but I just have to, voice a concern. Somebody brought up that council is not here to, and I will, soft air quote it, be beat up. Unfortunately, sometimes that's going to be what's going to happen. You're assuming that possibility when you run for council and you take a seat on that bench up there, because township residents are not always going to be happy, and we're going to vent. We're going to sometimes get argumentative. Sometimes we will be accusatory to certain individuals, but that's the job that's required of council, in my opinion, when you're getting $325 a night to sit up there. That's something that you sign up for.
Yeah.
Valid point.
Valid point. Yeah.
Valid point. I would argue that they don't really have to run for council. They just
Right. Yeah. They're just
gotta-
for their name. They weren't ready for that.
throw your name in the
Unlike-
Democrat column, and everybody here just votes all the way down. So
Yeah. Unlike someone like myself or you, has to run and be a.
yeah, door knocking for an entire summer. That turns out to a.
So Barry has another thought here.
We have a mayor that's drawing a salary of over $70,000 in the fourth largest township in the state of New Jersey. Why is that not a full-time position? He's got an executive assistant that's making more than twice what he makes. Let's pay the mayor a little more and have him here. I never see him at these meetings unless somebody's here to get an award. And even then we don't see him. And I think that's something that's fair. I think he should be here.
In regards to the mayor's salary is $52,000 a year. It's not $70,000. It is $52,000. It's considered a part-time position. I don't know, Mr. Carlemere, if that's something by ordinance that makes it a full-time position or a part-time position. It has always been a part-time position, but I always hate saying it's always been done that way. But
It's always been, to my knowledge, I've been here a long time, it's always been designated as a part-time. The mayor is not mandated to attend council meetings. There's a division between the executive branch and the legislative branch. So mayors sometimes have attended meetings, but most mayors do not attend
There's no
this form of
separation.
government meetings. The mayor's responsibilities, it's not a full-time position. It can be designated as such. I'm sure there are towns that same type of form of government that have the mayor spending full-time, but their salaries are considerably higher.
Yeah, this is a topic that goes back way back. People always wonder where the mayor is, why doesn't the mayor answer questions. When the mayor shows up for a meeting, he, shakes hands and then he's, before the meeting starts, before we actually get into business, he's
we've
gone.
caught it on camera.
Yeah,
before.
we watched him
Yeah.
sneak out the door
It's
before
just like standing there, and next thing you know, it's just like
before actual business take place. He has gone out the door down the road. So It's it's a thing that several people that have run for mayor in the past have said, look, I would be there, maybe not all the time, but I would be there to answer questions when questions are out there.
Well, it's just a designation of what's part-time and what's not part-time. Like even if you were there all that time, it's still considered a part-time job. It's just like an employee can be designated as like a, I don't know, salary non-exempt or a seasonal employee, and you're like, seasonal? I work all year round except for 1 week, or whatever it is. That's just a designation of the job title. Doesn't necessarily mean that he's there part-time. I don't know what his schedule's like. We've never sent an Oprah in for it, and if we did, I'm sure it would be completely redacted anyway, like any other people. But it's just a designation of what that position is on paper. It doesn't mean necessarily what he.
But it doesn't prevent him from coming.
No, that's true. It doesn't prevent him.
And I can't remember if this is true or not, but I thought that we changed the form of government when the mayor took over.
That is what my understanding is.
I thought we switched to Faulkner, strong mayor, when the mayor took over, which doesn't require him to be there.
Well, it was during Cindy Rao Hatton's term. This is what I understand. I don't know.
Yeah.
This is completely accurate. Her term was kind of cut short by like 6 months or something like that, because they changed. It used to be May elections. It used to be May, March or something, and then because she didn't have the approval of council to do anything, they basically made her life a miserable hell.
Sabotaged her, maybe?
Yeah, sabotage could be a good word to use. But they went and changed the form of government to make it a political thing, where it used to be a nonpartisan race, and back when it wasn't in November, but they changed it to be in November, which then shortened her term of office for that whole thing there. So it was like, this administration, I guess you can air quote, but it's not, or what did he say? Soft air quote it. But it was the machine behind, all the.
Yeah, it was Orlando and a bunch of them. I said several of them.
Well, her business administrator was the same business administrator that's there now, and
the guy that.
And I don't believe he was like her selection. It was there's her leftovers, and just like we were talking about before, like they constantly push the blame, I guess you could say, as like, oh, that's the mayor wants that. Well, the mayor doesn't get that unless you approve it. So when you are saying serve at the pleasure of the mayor, that's a disingenuous statement. With the approval of council. So even if she wanted to get rid of Tom Cardis back then, she can't get rid of him if they want him in place. She can't get rid of they could do a lot of things without her back then. But either way, we're getting off topic here from the council meeting. All right, let's see here. All right, so that was his last question here. Then we had a woman come up about the dog park. Dog park's a nice Camden County amenity that's in our township, and she had some things here, some issues.
Good evening, everyone. My name's Althea Vale, and I live just down the street at the Colony Apartments by the Timber Creek Dog Park. And that's one of the things that I want to speak with you about tonight. It's not about the fenced-in area where the dogs are allowed to run off leash. That's wonderful. It's about the rest of the park, the wooded trails and the macadam area where dogs are supposed to be on leash. There are signs that say that. They're not really visible, though. But so many people leave their dogs off leash. For those of us that walk their dog on leash, it presents some problems. A dog on leash can become very protective and assertive if a dog off leash approaches it, because the dog that's on leash has nowhere to run if there's any aggression involved. So they get very defensive, and it could become a very dangerous situation. So I walk my dog back there in the trails at least 4 times a week. And every time I'm there, unleashed dogs approach me and my dog. And I always remind people that it's the law. They need to put their dog on a leash. And some of the replies are pretty funny. They either ignore me, or they curse at me, or they quote Bible verses to me, or they tell me that their dog is fine and mine isn't.
Ma'am, we'll get your information, Officer O'Rennick. And so while we have authority to issue a citation there, we don't typically control the county park system. They have county park rangers, but that doesn't mean we don't go in there. I'm going to get your information, connect you, and we'll come up with some resolution. I understand it's an issue. They're legitimate concerns, 100%, but there are things we can do. I will be in touch with a supervisor from the county parks. It's run by Camden County Public Safety, Security. They have park rangers. We will come up with some solution on if we need to assist them with enforcement, maybe some signage, maybe a time period. We'll get some solution. If you can get with Officer O'Rennick afterwards, and we'll be back in touch.
Thank you,
Council President. We'll address it.
This is a big one here. At the picture that I flashed in there years ago, I was walking my dog, and an off-leash dog. It was friendly. Came up, clamped onto her neck, and then her head, and the end result was my dog wound up getting the upper hand on it. But by time it was all said and done, I had to crawl with. I had to hop on one leg because I had torn a tendon in my foot from trying to get the dog separated. Yeah. So I had to hop to a neighbor with a bleeding dog and bang on the door and say, we have to go to the hospital. So my dog had to go to the vet. I had to go to a different hospital. And then since then, something I used to love. I used to love walking my dog. I'm terrified to walk my dog.
Oh yeah, I won't go to the dog park because of other people's.
Yeah, even on the streets. I mean, there's so many dogs that people are just like, oh, he's friendly. That's not always the case. In a dog park, man, that pisses me off. And what got me too was she initially approached the county about this.
Well, I was gonna say she did a good thing. I thought was she stopped them from, because I was already seeing that where this was gonna go. It was like, it's not our park. It's Camden County's park. You gotta talk to them. But she says, I already went to Camden County, and Camden County told me that we can't issue citations. That's the jurisdiction of the police department. But then the unfortunate part was the police department saying, it's not our jurisdiction. They have their own park rangers, so we can't step on the foot. And this is kind of where lawmakers, I feel like, sometimes just make laws that they can't even enforce. Like, it's bizarre that nobody got together and that this is the first time that it's coming up. I mean, kudos to the chief for saying we're going to help work something out with this thing here, but it's like, we got park rangers, it's not our job, or the police saying it's not our jurisdiction, or whatever the thing is, and they can't even enforce the law that she's saying it's against the law to have him off leash. We've created a place that the law doesn't apply because of jurisdiction boundaries of their jurisdiction.
And it sounds like it's all the time.
I won't go there. I've been there with other people's dogs that I've seen how it happens. You know what I mean? I know what you're saying there. I know just walking my dog on the street. I used to have a neighbor that refused to have his pit bull on a leash. Granted, the dog was good and came back to him when he called, but as soon as he saw my dog, that dog would take off and just clamp on my dog, and it was like a whole big thing, and the dog would go back to him, but it's like it pissed me off so bad that this guy just refused, and he would yell at me about,
and you can't,
don't bring my dog around there because his dog doesn't like it. I'm like, your dog's supposed to be on a leash. How am I? I'm walking on a public sidewalk. Like, this is a public sidewalk. I'm allowed to walk my dog on.
Like, the kicker for it, when it happened to me, I was in Central Pennsylvania.
Yeah.
Central Pennsylvania, I can carry a handgun. I can carry anything that I want to.
Oh, jeez.
Well, I mean, look, if you're getting attacked, in New Jersey, you can't carry anything. Not even
a wallet. You can't have a wallet.
Well, I thought because a lot of times they'll say in a dog attack, you can pepper spray the dog. sometimes it doesn't stop them.
Yeah.
Sometimes they say like bear mace. You can't buy that in New Jersey.
Well, I was gonna say, pepper spray. You can't even buy good pepper spray.
No, you can get the little tiny thing, and that's pretty much it.
Yeah,
Otherwise, you can't get shipped to you. So
that's to protect yourself.
You have no. I mean, what are you gonna get? You carry a big club with you, and then I'm sure you're not gonna get. You're definitely gonna get stopped.
Yeah.
If you're carrying a big club with you while you're walking your dog. So it's just I feel like you're so defenseless when you're out walking your dog. That's why I don't do it. I can't.
All right. Well, I mean, at least they're looking into it, and hopefully they can cut through the red tape and get some kind of a solution for it. Because I know people do love that dog park, but I also know a lot of people that don't go to it because of just that. So
yeah, it sounds awful.
Yeah. All right. So one of the last speakers was a friend of the show's here who doesn't even live in town.
Yeah.
But he's constantly following. I don't know what it said in the clip. I'll play it because I don't want to repeat the same things he says.
My name's Mark Matthews. I thank you for your time because I'm not a Gloucester Township resident. I am a resident of Deptford. But I just want to talk about a general theme that I'm talking with all communities about. Well, if you don't know me, I write a website called 42freeway.com. And I cover new things in the communities. I have a pretty good following. And every day someone's asking me to be their advocate. I write 500 stories a year. I can't be South Jersey's advocate. But there's one thing that I've really chosen that I think influences all the communities, and that's open government. The reason why I am able to make a full-time living out of writing is because journalism in South Jersey is decimated. So what that means is, it means people like yourself have to do awesome things like record meetings and open things up and open up the dialogue with the community. Excuse me. So why I'm here now, what triggered this thought is Cherry Hill, if I could just use this as sort of an analogy. Cherry Hill is a big development community, just like you guys are, very sharp planning board members. And I'm listening to this meeting of the H Mart, which is a Asian grocery store, and it's on Zoom. And I'm listening to it, and it was the most softball meeting I'd ever heard. You know, normally they're beating up over the signage, they're beating up over the landscaping, and there was like not one question from the planning board. And for me, this is like watching the Super Bowl. I'm turning to my wife, I say, I can't believe what's going on here. This is crazy. So I'm telling you this because there's this woman, Martha Wright. If you go home, Google her, Cherry Hill Martha Wright, you'll see. She goes to these meetings, and she speaks. Now they're ready to just go ahead and approve this. And this resident calls out, and she says, you know what? This supermarket does not have any trash enclosures. There's no dedicated areas for shopping carts. She says, how can you go? It's Zoom. Can you go to slide 7? Look on the top of the building. There's fog lights. We don't have an ordinance for fog lights in Cherry Hill. And you know what happened? An amazing thing happened. The planning board said, Martha, you know what? You are right. And they interacted with her, and they worked with her, and they moved through the slides with her. And at the end, they did approve the project, but it had like 25 different extra things to address that had Martha not been there and interacted with the officials and the members of the board, I think they wouldn't have been called out. So that's my point. I just leave that with you guys for something to think about, because you do have a little bit of a unique scenario here with the communication path with your council meeting here, and I just want to share that story. And that's it.
Thank you very much.
Thanks, guys.
I don't know what brought this on, but it was great to see. I was upset because I was home and I was like, I would have went and say hi to Mark if he was there, but
yeah, he texted me earlier that I guess he watches every different towns, like different things that are going on, and I think I'm guessing here, but I think it had to do with that that Form A application thing for those warehouse things. So
okay.
I think that because his whole thing, just if anybody isn't aware of him, and also go to his website at 42freeway.com. He just gives you updates on everything that's going on, but he gets that information, like he was saying, from the government. It's saying like, okay, here I went to the planning board meeting and this application was on there, so I know that Chick-fil-A has an application in to open up over at the outlets or whatever it is, and now we got to write a story about that. But when the government isn't, answering people back or interacting with the public, you don't get the best outcomes. And that's what we've been saying on here. So he must have seen something online, but he texted me earlier that day asking me if I was going to be there. I was going to be late. I wasn't even sure if I was going to be there or not, but I was, at a school board meeting, and then made it over there. But I walked in and he was already in the room, so I didn't exactly know what it was that he was going to talk about. But then, because when I walked in, it was the closed session thing. He told me, he's like, yeah, I just wanted to kind of comment about that. But listen, Mark, he's not for or against them. Like, he's just for open government, like he said. And that's kind of, I don't know, that's kind of the stance. Look, we criticize them, but we also say good things that they do. Maybe we criticize more than we say good, but Mark says, middle of the road. He just wants to get the information out that what's there, and he's saying that, look, he noticed that this is absolutely ridiculous. We have people from out of town watching our meetings.
Yeah.
5 months into this new format that are actually coming to or spending his time. Like he said, I can't be an advocate for everybody. Nobody asked him to be an advocate for this. He just saw it on his own and was like, I need to go advocate for this because this is absolutely insane what they're doing over there. But
yeah, I don't know. It spoke volumes to me that he's there and he's addressing what is after 5 months in. It's just so ridiculous now that we're doing this, and we'll get told that, hey, this such and such township up in North Jersey, they do this same way that we're doing. Okay, that doesn't mean that they're right either.
Well, Brian Burns' great example was, that's great, but I don't live there. I live here. That's what I'm worried about here.
So I just happened to look up Martha while we were there. It sounds like she's like an open
Denise Coyne
she's like the but also like with a Brian Burns touch of open space kind of advocate too. So
yeah. All right. So last comment that we have here is about the RVs.
There were residents that came here to discuss at our last meeting to discuss the RVs and campers, and I told them that we would have that at a workshop. I have changed that. We're going to have a subcommittee comprised of Mr. Mignon and Mrs. Albright Troxel and myself, and we'll meet with those individuals as a subcommittee and discuss that particular ordinance. So now we'll reach out to those residents to discuss that.
I am shocked that he's on a subcommittee.
Wow, yeah.
He had to be involved in that?
He's got to be involved. He's got to be involved.
Wow.
Yeah, so does that mean that there's no public input now that it's a subcommittee and not a workshop?
Probably, yeah. I would assume. It can be discussed behind closed doors, not without any public input. Maybe they do invite them. I don't know. I don't know if there's emails that go back and forth, but just interesting.
I'm curious how this one's going to go.
I don't know. It is interesting.
I do
like how they were very fired up that they had we're gonna have a workshop about it, and Denise Coyne's like, congratulations, I've been asking for stuff for 15 years, 5 years, and they haven't even budged it. So congratulations,
congratulations on your workshop.
So guess what? They already changed that.
No workshop. No workshop for you.
Now there's a subcommittee that's going to deal with it. And guess who's on it? Council president. That he's going to control it.
We're gonna come in on council meeting, and then we're gonna pause for 5 minutes in this other side room before we come in there and go, you want to give those guys anything? And they go, nah. Subcommittee voted no. So I don't know.
One of the members. Never mind.
So I'm curious to see how that one goes. That's a both sides of the argument I see on that one. That's a really, really tough call, that RV in the driveway thing. So, but no workshop for them. At least we're playing fair, and nobody gets a workshop. Nobody gets to speak. Nobody gets a workshop. Exactly. That's it.
So, all right, guys. So just make sure you subscribe to the channel here if you liked what was going on. Share it with your friends. Let other people know what we do here. You can find us on Facebook.com/GTObserver. And obviously you're on YouTube. Make sure you hit the subscribe button and turn the notification bells on so you can get our sporadic posts of what we
share it too. Yeah, share it.
Yeah,
I like
share it. Make a comment down below. We always need to interact with the folks here. So, all right. Anything else, Joe? I think I'm spent.
I think that's it. Right at an hour. So,
all right. Here we go.
Good. That'll make the short attention span guys really happy. Let's see you, folks.
All right, folks. See you later.